So Zero Dark 30 is a movie that is, of course, about the manhunt for bin Laden. You know, I understand from our movie reviewers on What the Flake that it's a really great movie, actually. But it has one significant issue, which is that it starts with torture. And the Senate Intelligence Committee has concluded, without a doubt, that torture was not involved in getting material information that allowed us to capture Osama bin Laden. Now, if you watch the movie really carefully, as Ben Mankiewicz points out, that it does not say that the torture led to the evidence that got bin Laden. But by focusing on it for such a long period of time in the beginning of the movie, it leaves the impression that torture helped to get bin Laden. So why do they do that? I mean, Mark Boal, who's the writer of this movie, and Kathryn Bigelow, who's won an Oscar, you know, they won Oscars for Hurt Locker, brag all the time about how close they are to the facts. So why did they stray from the facts on this? In fact, when Mark Boal was asked about it, he said, look, man, it's not a documentary, it's a movie. So why are you so close to all the, like they spent, you know, so much time getting every single nook and cranny of bin Laden's compound right. Oh, they got the tiles right, they got the paintings on the wall right, they got all that right. And oops, we spent a half an hour talking about torture, even though that didn't have anything to do with capturing bin Laden. I got all the little details right, but this huge major portion of the movie is at least misleading. Well, LA Times writer Terry McDermott wrote an op-ed there, at least in the LA Times, which I thought was really on point. He said, unfortunately, we have coarsened the culture so much. Now, the torture in all these cases did not work, right? And it wound up getting to a point where we used it so much that we had to begin justifying. You know, I'll add my portion of that analysis, which is cognitive dissonance. You know, if you've studied psychology, you know what this is. And so if you do something that you didn't want to do, then you begin to justify it. And I'm doing a really rough explanation here of that concept, but by thinking like, well, yeah, well, I meant to do that. Well, then I must have been in favor of it. I thought I was against it, but I must have been in favor of it. If you pay somebody a lower amount, for example, in psychological tests, to do something they don't want, they wind up justifying it in their head by saying, no, I must have wanted to do it in the first place. If you pay them a higher amount, they think, well, I did it for the money, right? So it's a fascinating psychological phenomenon, and I believe that's partly what's happening to the whole country in the case of torture. Well, America is awesome, and if we did torture, and now we all know we waterboarded, there's no question about that, and waterboarding is torture by international law, US law, etc. Well, then I guess we must have meant it. Then it must be that torture is great. So then here we have a movie that says, oh, look at that, torture, yes, 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 and then we got bin Laden, yay! But it's nonsense. You know, I've said this before, Khalid Shaikh Mohammed, we waterboarded him 183 times. If waterboarding is so successful, why didn't it work on the first time, the second time, the 182nd time? I mean, how successful could anything be if you had to do it 183 times? And now, in that same op-ed by Terry McDermott, there's an unnamed FBI official, a counter-terrorism agent actually, who said something that I don't know if he's joking or not. There's no indication in the article that he's joking, but it's so unbelievable that you wonder, right? So let me give you the quote from the FBI counterterrorism agent. Khalid Shaikh Mohammed apparently, all through all their torture, gave all sorts of information. The great majority, the overwhelming majority of which was completely and utterly false. That we already know. But here's the detail. Quote, he had us chasing the goddamn geese in Central Park because he said some of them had explosives stuffed up their ass. Now, if that is true, that is both the saddest and funniest thing I've ever heard. It's literally a wild goose chase. If he actually got FBI agents to check up inside the ass of geese, well, then we got to pack up the whole operation on that alone. I mean, can you think of a better example of how little torture works? And everybody who's been tortured, including Senator John McCain of Arizona, says the same thing. You'll say anything to get it to stop. It doesn't matter if it's true or false. And if you're Khalid Shaikh Mohammed and they're waterboarding you over 100 times, wouldn't you mess with them? That every time you gave them one piece of information, true or false, and they can't verify it, usually for years later. I mean, they can't just be like, oh, okay, Khalid Shaikh Mohammed said this thing about Pakistan, go verify it, and then you come back overnight. It's not 24, it's not Zero Dark 30. It takes years to verify the information. So wouldn't you make up stuff? Wouldn't you tell them there's explosive up the geese ass in Central Park? Of course you would. And then if you tell them something, what does the FBI have to do? Well, they got to go on that chase. Because they don't want to say, well, Khalid Shaikh Mohammed told us something after we tortured him, or after the CIA tortured him, or after the private contractors hired by the CIA tortured him, and we didn't do anything about it, we didn't follow up on that information, you get in a lot of trouble. You got to go cover your ass. And you got to go look up the geese's ass. This is what happens. And by the way, I've showed you other stories in the past where the FBI said, look, man, we spent so much time chasing false leads. It was a giant waste of time when we could have had agents working on real counterterrorism inside the United States. This is what happens when you torture people. It is stupid. And I agree with McDermott that it has coarsened our ideals. And by the way, now to add insult to injury, Khalid Shaikh Mohammed, and by the way, McDermott wrote the book on Khalid Shaikh Mohammed. Literally, he's got a book, The Hunt for KSM, that's Khalid Shaikh Mohammed, Inside the Pursuit and Takedown of the Real 9/11 Mastermind, Khalid Shaikh Mohammed. And by the way, bin Laden didn't plan the details. KSM did, okay? And we got him, and when we got him, I was ecstatic. And I remember doing the show saying, man, this is the guy, and we got him, so that's terrific, okay? And we, by the way, all these years, we still haven't brought him to justice. Yeah, we did the torturing, etc., but we're supposed to try him and bring him to justice. But one more insult to injury here on how they have sullied the good name of America in their ridiculous pursuits of torture. Ali Abdul Aziz Ali is Khalid Shaikh Mohammed's nephew. Well, just in case he had information, we tortured him too. Now, he's about to go to trial, and he wants to talk about how he got tortured at trial. Our government says you're not allowed to. It's state secret evidence on how we tortured you. So you are not allowed to bring up at your own trial that you were tortured. In fact, you're not allowed to testify about it because the victim's recollection of his own torture is a state secret. This is the Orwellian government we now have. Enjoy.